I'm gonna give you 5 ways how to have better direction in your swing. I'm gonna give you an extra bonus one at the very end. Make sure you stay to the end. First, let's talk about what is direction. Direction is having the ability to get your bat in the hitting zone, then try to stay in the pitch line as long as you can. So if I'm a righty and it's a lefty throwing from over there, kind of where the camera is coming from, I'm going to try to stay that way as long as I can. So have an imaginary line from the pitcher's release point to the catcher's mitt or the strike zone, right? The direction for a righty on righty is going to be different from righty on lefty or lefty on lefty, right? It's a little bit different, but it's back to the pitcher's release point to keep it really simple. I'm going to show you a video about what Freddie Freeman and Chipper Jones talk about to maintain direction. Roll the tape.
Chipper taught me this when I was coming up. Chipper uses this line as a hand mental thing. You want to keep your hands on the line, so you're just moving up through it so your bat stays in the zone as long as you can. And that's it. I have taken that with me since he told me that. It's a good thing because some hitters will cut their swings off, and that's not what you want to do. So you try and mentally keep your hands on this line.
Okay, so what he talked about was using this line as his swing kind of guardrail, right? He's trying to keep his path or his knob on this line as long as he can to maintain this bat, I hate saying it, but kind of sweeping through the zone rather than like crossing the zone, right? We want to be more of like a slamming sliding door, not necessarily sliding door, right? That could be bad, but more of a slamming sliding door, right? Where you turn behind it, then you kind of slide through it. That'd be a really good cue for a lot of players. Okay, here we go. Remember, I'm gonna give you 5. I'm gonna give you an extra bonus one at the very end. Make sure you stay to the end. Okay, number 1, I like swing and point. It's easily the best thing. I think it's easily the best way as well. When you tell players to swing and point, what I'm referencing is the point of the bat, the end of the bat, right? The end cap. When you ask them to swing and point, simply say to try to do it back to the pitcher release point or to the batter's eye, center fielder, or whatever that is. What that gets them to do is it gets them to take the end of the bat, swing through the hitting zone, and stay there, right? A lot of players, the end of the bat's going to end over here really fast. We want to feel like this end of the bat travels as long as possible and that way. So it'll end up looking more like boom, more like that feeling. So you see it on social media. It's a lot of 3/4 swings. 3/4 swings aren't necessarily the same as swing and point. I think swing and point has a little bit more intent and focus behind it, a little bit more emphasis behind it. Swinging like palm up 3/4 swing is more for like a palm up bat path on plane thing. I like swing and point better. It has more emphasis on the barrel head and it gives a little bit more initiative to turn and deliver. Some guys can still drag it a little bit when they do 3/4 swings, but it does depend on what the player needs. So we go from there. I was talking to a really high level coach and he talked about he doesn't love talking about direction all the time because a lot of players, when they think direction, they think always hands and bat. But a lot of times, if you work on the body and making the body's like energy go in a better direction, that's going to clean up the path, right? A lot of times, the path direction is a band-aid for just having bad body direction. So what he wants to look for is feeling, and especially looking like all the energy in the body, all the intent with the body is working back through the ball and back to the big part of the field. That's easily the biggest thing. Instead of going somewhere else, right? Instead of going towards the third base dugout, then having to recover with path, trying to get everything like the body, the feet energy, the hip energy, the shoulder energy, the head, the bat, everything working back through the big part of the field and working together, working in sync. Therefore, when you have that, you don't have to have such a band-aid effect or band-aid feel or focus on a lot of energy or a lot of direction. Number 3, front hip. A lot of players, they can't hold direction because their front hip energy is taking them somewhere else, right? So if you're the pitcher, their front hip is going this way. But we look on video, we look on what science is telling us, biometrics, and it's telling us, yes, we want the hips to rotate, but we want everything to rotate towards the ball, not away from the ball. I made a video side by side yesterday for one of my MLB hitters, and I compared him versus Trout. And the biggest difference I can't show the video, but from this angle, when he was swinging, before he'd even swing, this was coming out and he had nothing left. Versus Trout, he landed closed and tucked. So did the other player, but the other player is so much early with his front hip and like belly button is wide open. And I said, try to keep that belly button towards the catcher as long as you can. That's going to allow all the energy to work back into the ball and stay in there rather than leave it. So his very next day, he was hitting like foam ball fastballs, and he was doing really well. And if he missed, he'd much rather stay in there too much and like foul it off or go to right field or whatever, rather than have one of these where they're wide open. So an overcorrection is just feeling belly buttons tucked in, front hip tucked in, and shoulder tucked in for too long to overcorrect that. Number 4, I like this one. It's a kick through or step through. I think I typically do a step through where guys will hit it, they'll swing, then on their finish, right, pause, then they step. What that does is it's kind of a weight shift correction too. So if they swing and kind of stay back, they know they can't step, right? We have to be able to swing, transfer the energy through the swing, and step. And also what that does is from this angle, when they swing and they can't quite step, they feel it right away. They know that their mind has to put their body in a position to swing forward, or at least be able to walk forward. So it really helps them understand, okay, I have to be in a good position to walk and hold direction. I have to use this a ton with lefties. Righties are honestly typically pretty good at direction, right? It's tough. Typically pretty good at direction because first base is in front of them, right? So when they swing, they're able to work more towards first base, right? So telling a righty right center is phenomenal, but for a lefty, right, from this angle, they have to go to first base fast. So that pulls the direction. I tell a lot of lefties jokingly, I wish that their first base was third base. And sometimes I'll actually have them work down the third baseline as if they're righty, because they'll swing, boom, and they'll walk that way. And it really keeps that front side on much longer rather than coming off. So that's what I'll typically do. Or I'll just simply have them go like long finish, opposite gap, and that really helps too. We always look at kind of Arenado when we look at that. It's like, man, that front side's on, that front side's long, and that's the feeling. And that leads to my 5th point, long through one-handed. I really like one-handed, and let me tell you a story. So I was working out with this college coach, and I really wanted to go to his school. And obviously, just like anyone, I was a little bit of a power hitter, but like you really want to show it off, right? He's like, I really want to show him that he should be recruiting me, giving me a scholarship. And we were hitting, and I was really trying hard pull side, and my shoulder just coming out of there. So I might get 1 or 2, but then I was hooking, and it looked really hard. Then he's like, okay, go middle way. And my personal background is my dad just grooved me middle away, and that was honestly where my best swings were, right? But the ego tells you pull side. And so I was going middle away, and I would hit it, and I would go boom, like that, like nice and pretty like awesome swing. That's what everyone's kind of shooting for, that nice fluid Arenado swing, right? And he's like, man, your ball flight, your swing, your finish is gorgeous right field or opposite field with really good ball flight, and it looks really easy for you. Try to take that swing that way. And what happened was he'd throw me in, and I started not trying so hard, and I would swing and I'd go boom, like that feeling rather than going like that, right? So it's just me trying to stay down and long through and like let the ball flight lift itself rather than actively try to lift up the ball. It really helps me. It ended up earning me a really good scholarship as well. Bonus tip. Nobody talks about this. I made an Instagram video about it maybe about a year ago, Bryce Harper. Nobody talks about this at all. Everyone wants to talk about front side direction, and I just made a whole video about that. But what's really important is if you make a good move as you start to initiate towards the hitting zone, towards the ball, that move will typically put you on a really good line to have good direction, right? Everyone wants to talk about front side and holding direction, make sure this stays in, blah, blah, blah. I think so too. I mean, heck, I just made a whole video about that. But we can correct a lot of the issues simply by thinking, I gotta launch deep more behind me. Now let me kind of explain it to you. The best players, when they launch, probably 95, 98% of them, when they swing, it happens deep and inside them, right? That position. That's where they launch from. Then they swing in, behind, then out. Versus a lot of players, when they swing, they open up and go this way. It's like, well, yeah, you're already kind of swinging across your body. You have to fight to hold direction, and you can't, right? So if you want to cover up a lot of issues body energy-wise and direction-wise, simply try to launch from more inside and deep behind, and that's going to allow your body and path to open up to the big part of the field rather than forward and across. So your launch can cover up a lot of issues without even have to focus on direction. So I typically look at that first. Sometimes it is a front side stuff or a front side thing, but I typically look at the launch first. So those are all 6 really good ideas. Go ahead and at least try 1 or 2 of them, and let me know how you did. Good luck.